So we're here today to talk about getting started with meditation,
Ooh.
and perhaps perhaps I could ask you to kick off, Liam, as our show guest today.
Okay. I was your show guest last week.
It's because we love you, Liam.
Yeah, I think it's a relevant theme for me at the moment. I feel like I don't know about the two of you, but I definitely come in. I've been going in waves, I think, recently with my own practice. There's like these periods of like pretty intense daily practice, especially on retreat. But then I think after coming, I remember one time being on retreat. It was like a short weekend retreat, and someone he said, "Oh, it was my first retreat that I went on, and I wasn't." He was like, "I wasn't drinking alcohol. I wasn't eating all this junk food, and I was meditating all the time on this retreat." And then he said the first thing he did when he came back to his, came off of retreat and back home, he said he just binged on everything. He was like drinking, he was eating junk food, and he was like just going in reverse. And
Yeah.
I feel like there's this sort of similar cycle that plays out, from like really intense practice, and then after that, just kind of really just not bothering and stepping away from the practice. And now it's so I feel like this podcast is it's almost like a signal. Okay, it's time to like get back into the practice some more. So it's a good topic.
I actually thought about that exactly today. I was thinking if we're having on, other guests and we're talking constantly about meditation, it's absolutely vital that our practice is solid. So I completely agree with you, Liam.
Yeah, I would add to that it's, I don't know, formal practice is a thing, right? And we all get kind of a bit attached to it, I think, that, I've done my meditation today, I'm fine, everything's cool. Or like, I haven't, I'm a bad person and I'm slacking on my, do you know what I mean? And I'm trying to make more space in life for just to acknowledge all the other kinds of meditation that I do as well, like just sitting in a bath. That's it being, I'm starting to sort of understand better how big a thing that is for me, that I can just sit in a bath with nothing, that I sort of make a mini ritual out of it, in that I will have nothing added to that. I don't bring a book. I mean, some people do, and that's fine, but I just don't bring a book. I just stare at the wall, basically. And sometimes I'll change the lights and make it kind of real dark, and I'll just, and that's my meditation, and that's fine. Like, what, why devalue it? Because I didn't do it like a formal practice.
For sure. And I think, when you start doing a ritual like that, so ritual being something you take on quite regularly, that begins to open up the scope for it being a formal practice in that sense, because it takes on another element every time you do it. And I think exactly that, how we see formal practice as only just sitting, but I was speaking to someone about it the other day, where even just like movement-based practices aren't even acknowledged as much. So let's say you do yoga or Tai Chi or even just walking, but we would say that would be like walking practice, rather than like a sitting practice, which everyone thinks to be a bit more like formal sometimes. So the more that we can expand the scope of what we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to say is, okay, well, this is me still practicing meditation because I'm completely absorbed in it and I'm present here. I think that's enough. And that in itself is a practice for us to keep reiterating it and bringing it home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole point of formal practice is so that it just spews over naturally into informal practice. And I think,
Yes.
when you were saying about how when you're just taking a bath, I feel like those moments are almost like the fruits of meditation, where it's, you just have these moments of spaciousness, and you can kind of allow yourself to just be. I hear a lot. Teachers kind of recommending when when people do their first like solitary retreats to not try to pack like really pack the schedule in with like a routine, or like saying, okay, 9 to 10 I'm going to have meditation, and then 10 to 10:30 I'm going to be doing some reading, to just not really try to fill the schedule, but to just have a lot of this empty time where where you can just be without any formal practice going. And even that in some ways is it's definitely a practice. Maybe it's not formal, but it's still practice.
Yeah, yeah, nice. It's interesting, isn't it? The kind of attitude to meditation, and I mean, there's a lovely book, and I think we mentioned Lauren Roche last time we talked.
Yes.
It's called Meditation Made Easy,
Great book.
and it's so good.
It's so
It's a
good.
funny one, right? That title is really off-putting if you've done retreats and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. It's some sort of kiddie thing. But actually, like, a lot of the book is just about attitude towards it. And let me read a little bit here, because there's a lovely passage that I keep coming back to recently. He's saying that, yeah, meditation is an activity of your total being, and you cooperate with it. Your contribution is to create conditions under which it can happen. You are inviting meditation to happen by the way you pay attention. When you take this approach, not only is meditation easy, it is effortless. And that to me just, it's a completely different perspective on how I learned meditation, because I learned it in a very formal way mostly via the Goenka, let's not call it a cult, gang. they, they and I owe them everything on that level. It was very useful to me to learn via that route. But I'm realizing more and more that it's not the only route, and there's that actually it's almost like that route is like, okay, now sit down and meditate, kind of do this, do that. Now you are meditating, and look at the fruits you have gained. But actually, there's you can't really like do meditation. Meditation does you.
Yeah.
All you can actually do is kind of open the door to it, make space for it.
Yeah, for sure. There's actually I remembered hearing about these two umbrella terms for the different schools within Buddhism. So one being like this, they call it the developmental approach to Buddhism, and then the other one being this more discovery approach. And I think that's quite a nice, because a lot of people will probably only ever come across this developmental approach where it's like, okay, yeah, you have to really strive, you have to really work hard and cultivate. But then the other side of the school is the other school is it's just this deeper relaxation, and kind of recognizing that there's nothing to do, that you can't actually meditate, and so they practice non-meditation, and there's all this different kind of language that's used. And I think according to people's personalities, they might gravitate towards one or the other.
I love that. Wow, the discovery approach.
And so, if it's not so much taught, this kind of discovery approach, how, Liam, might you suggest, if someone listening, what you just said piqued their interest, where would you send them to go search and learn about this a bit more?
Yeah, I guess it depends how much how in depth they want to go, because especially if this podcast is about getting started with meditation. I'm not exactly sure, because I think a lot of so just within Buddhism, the schools generally that kind of favor the discovery approach would be like, so like within even within Tibetan Buddhism, it's kind of split between those two approaches. So like the Nyingma school and Dzogchen within Tibetan Buddhism are quite discovery approach, and then Zen is also pretty skewed towards more discovery rather than developmental. But probably that's a bit, I don't know if those topics in general are helpful. I think it's just more a focus on relaxation as opposed to I guess maybe this wrong definition of concentration as having to really put effort in is probably a good place to start.
Mm.
Bill, do you have anything to say on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that perhaps the sort of challenge with taking a discovery approach is that it's an intuitive kind of form that didn't really suit monastic training much, and that most of the sort of meditation traditions that we get from the East that we are learning today are they were basically designed to keep 18-year-old boys in line, so they didn't cavort with the, the girls in the local village. So it was all about discipline and hard training, and like this very, because you can't have the boys cavort with the local girls, because then the villagers come and burn down your monastery when one of them gets pregnant. And that's like 90% of why monastic trainings are like they are, from what I've learned about it, that that there's very strict rules, because you can't have those young lads mucking about, and you have to train them like it's a military school basically, or you've got trouble everywhere and your monastery gets burnt down.
I think also just in the same way of like, if there isn't a set like curriculum, it might be a bit more difficult to teach someone something, especially if discovery is maybe a bit more like looser. Maybe the approach to have something more rigid is easier for just to contain in a space too.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the classic thing of pedagogy or whatever. The traditions of teaching have generally been very sort of top-down, militaristic styles of training, because that's the easiest thing to do when you've got lots of young people you want to keep in line and train in a certain way. And most education was built to sort of provide useful clerks and soldiers for empires. That's like it was either keeping monasteries in line, or later on, this sort of model of teaching that we got from Prussia was all about building an empire and a military. So it's obviously much harder to do individualized, or at least it's a completely different mindset. I don't know if it's much harder really, because
I'm not
no
sure
one's done it much.
In Finland,
it's a new. Sorry, go ahead.
In Finland, they do in their educational system, so they allow the youth to choose what they want to learn, and it's much more discovery based.
Yeah, I hear lots of great things about Scandinavian education models, but So I don't really know. Like, the only people I do know who are talking about this in my my limited research so far are people like Lauren Roche, and who just really stress that if you, I mean, he came to this position over many years of being a kind of counselor for people who meditate, and he would sit and listen to them for hours and help them understand what was working and what wasn't in their current practice. And his take on it was, well, actually, it's the people who tend to do best are the ones who are not kind of following some rigid formula.
I also think from who I know, Sarah Blondin, she's
Oh yeah.
probably not someone who would be mentioned very often in the meditation space. Not because she isn't a great meditation teacher in her own right. She's actually very famous on places like Insight Timer, and but it's just that the style in which she helps others learn is through almost poetic speech and guiding one home to themselves. And then that's where she leaves them. So she makes an environment which is conducive to be relaxed and be effortless in. And she's like a sister I've never had. You know, she's helped me through such difficult times, and it's difficult to say that it would definitely be meditation in that formal sense, but she does. Like, we, like, of course, still sit, but it's just a completely different mindset with which we sit.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I would recommend her as someone if anyone's listening. So we can post that up after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another way I've seen that distinction between developmental and discovery is usually people start with developmental, because it kind of also makes sense when you just think about any new skill you're kind of acquiring, whether it's piano or another instrument. There's this initial phase of, okay, you have to kind of be quite, you have to put in quite a lot of effort to really get going. But then once you've kind of got past that stage, then actually to continue progressing, you kind of actually want to just relax more and let this sort of let all of that practice that you've done initially kind of take over, so that the practice starts to just have its own momentum, and it becomes more and more this effortless way of just being. And so I feel like there's a similar progression in a lot of how these traditional meditation schools would teach the practice, where in the beginning it's like, okay, really strive diligently, and then as you kind of get that discipline over and done with, then they focus more on the, okay, now just drop everything and relax and be effortless.
Forget everything you learned.
Essentially, yes.
There is no try.
Yeah, I think that it's true to say this with anything, as you said, like piano, but let's take art. All of the most famous artists had generally a really, really strong background in formal technique. So you take Van Gogh or you take Picasso, each one of them in their earliest drawings, you see that they can depict real life exactly. But then after, what you want to do with it is completely up to you and your choice. So
Yeah.
for anyone who definitely learns a skill, you do make it your own. And yeah, I think that's very similar.
Liam, I'm curious to know, I mean, have you, do people ask you how to get started with meditation? What do you tell them?
Mm. I think what we've been covering so far about, the attitudes are definitely important. And I guess general tips would that I also tend to, I definitely followed these in the beginning, and I still do for the most part. Would be things like, like a 10-second formal practice is actually fine. And I sometimes do that where, okay, if I've had a really hectic day and I haven't been able to sit like a full, whether it's 20 minutes or a full hour or something like that, I'll just set a timer for like a minute, or even less sometimes. And that's it. Like, and then because I think it's also important to get that streak. I feel like there's something about that continuous streak, even if it's just a 10-second formal practice, that can be really helpful for maintaining that habit. And so that's kind of what I like to do with keeping it just super minimal.
I actually love that, and I definitely stress to newer students that I teach that sometimes, so it's from, I think I initially learnt this one from Chad Meng Tan, who was the original founder of Search Inside Yourself. And he said to his friend who wanted to learn, how can I start? And he just said, just do it by taking one full present breath. And so his friend started doing this, but being an overachiever, he just started, increasing that momentum. And I think what you say, Liam, about having a streak, or how I might put it, is like just being able to maintain this habit in whatever sense, like however short it is, it doesn't matter. So that as we build momentum, the time doesn't really matter. And it's much easier to increase time after something has already become quite habitual. It's in the same essence of like when you first start teaching a child to brush their teeth. Like they don't like it, like, sometimes they'll just like run away and go to bed before, but that daily 2 minutes of brushing their teeth twice a day accumulates to so much. The difference being that if they I think I worked it out one of the other weeks, that it's about like 65 minutes or something a month. So if you went for like a regular teeth clean, that's about a similar time, but your teeth would be absolutely ruined by then. Or if you look at it in another sense, how doing very little frequently makes a massive difference is how I like to see it.
Yeah,
and it's the same, I think, with formal meditation practice.
Yeah, there's a great, I think he has an email course now called Tiny Habits. I don't know if the two of you have heard of that, but it's just great. I mean, it's not meditation specific, but just the lessons on habit formation and actually how to form a habit through these these tiny behavior changes is gold. It's a great resource.
I think that's the number one question that I get. They say, okay, well, now I know like this plethora of different meditation techniques. I just find it very difficult now to remember to have to do it. So it's often when you remember, then you can do your 1 minute, but when you first start something, sometimes it needs that formality so that you can come back to it. And often they say with new habits to link it on to something you already do as a habit so that you can remember. So if it's brushing your teeth, then you might just stand for a minute and you might just take a breath. Or if you come home and the first thing you do is put down your keys, you might just stand there a little longer to bring yourself back into a state where you like have put work away. So I think that habit attachment is very, very helpful.
Nice.
So maybe we can have a little brainstorm now, maybe coming up with a few of when you might do that to a habit. Anyone want to go?
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as, having a lie down, like you say, after work. Just lie on the floor and, put your knees up, stare at the ceiling, 5 minutes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or after a bath, to take a moment to breathe and let your thoughts run wild.
Yeah. In the Tiny Habits course, they talk about recipes. You can create these recipes where, you find like after I take my first bite of breakfast, I will take one mindful breath. So that's like a tiny habit recipe. I think there's, because there's so many of these, some of them also quite unconscious habits that I know I have as well, that I can probably link with a new practice. And some of them like just super simple, like when I leave the front door, send loving thoughts to two friends, something like that.
Yes. Or as you enter on the way to work, even though most of us are not going on the way to work anymore, as soon as you see someone, the first person you see, you send them a warm wish. Or you can do it to your entire train or bus, whoever's on there.
Nice. So I'm getting started with meditation. Help me out here. What do I do?
I might often say initially, actually, what is the function that you want to have? Because there are so many different meditative practices. What is most important to you? So someone might come to me saying like they're often really stressed out, so they just want to calm down a bit more and they want to relax. Others might say they want to focus better. Others say they maybe want to be more skillful with other people. Others just might say for general health or just for clarity. So I might push them into a direction to say, okay, well, this exercise might be helpful for you to initially start exploring with and see how you go with that. And then often just they might come back and then develop further on what they might have found difficult or what other exercises might suit them too within the same sphere.
Nice.
So I think it really depends. And maybe we can either write out some later on or so for example, for a concentration practice, you can just do simple breath work, either counting to 10, or you might be just noticing sensations within a particular part of the body, or just feeling and recognizing the flow of your breathing in the form of sensations. Something very, very simple just to begin. If you might be doing clarity, I might even suggest a journaling practice, just free flow of like a mind dump, just allowing for 5 minutes, continuous writing. Don't stop at all. And if you have nothing to write, just keep writing. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. and then reading it over. And a lot of the time, when it's on the page, you get a lot more distance and perspective from it. For what else is there? What else did I mention? Loving kindness, if you want to have more skillful relations with others. So sending out warm wishes. Also just maybe bringing that within yourself as well. So even loving kindness to oneself first before actually sending that out to others. And another practice, which is like seeing similarities in them. So Bill has a mind just like me, or Bill likes tennis just like me. Although, yeah. So the more that we see similarities, the more that we can start associating the other person as being like us. And when we put them in our in group, we can empathize with them better. So I think if anyone listening has a specific function or particularity as to why they might want to begin meditating, then I think send them in and we can post some stuff out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do get in touch. We're happy to help. We can cover it in another episode and or write back to you. For sure.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted to also add about the loving kindness practice. I believe there was a study. It was trying to ask. It was asking what was the like what practice would yield like the fastest results. And I think one of them was actually loving kindness in the sense of how quickly beginners would experience some benefit from the practice. And I've actually noticed this on just like beginner retreats that I've run. The practice that people seem to kind of just really have this like whoa, that was like something different, that I really felt something change there. Is usually the loving kindness, or the metta practice. And it was funny that I ended up coming across that study that said I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was something about changes.
I think that's under Tanya Singer.
Possibly, yeah. I'll have to dig it up, but you might know more, Jazz.
So actually, under her work, she is so her work is fascinating. And she basically did different studies on how, when we notice actually different meditation practices give different results. And I think for compassion training, loving kindness actually had the most impact in developing compassion, but also a sense of awareness, bodily, and greater self-awareness. And then also, I think, to overall long-term health, it also had the most benefit. And they looked at, I think, just simple concentration practice, I think body scan, and loving kindness. So compassion training actually has a lot of benefits within it. So it's like 3-in-1 combo.
Liam, I'm curious to know, like, what stage of the retreat were you doing that practice on, or was it a short thing? Like, how did that work
with the loving kindness?
Yeah.
The example I brought up was with like I'd organize a few of these beginner retreats mainly just for friends. So there were like 15 of us that would kind of get introduced to mindfulness and mindfulness related practices. And that was just the one I noticed that people would comment and say, wow, yeah, that loving kindness practice, that really kind of shifted something in me, after that first day. And usually it was like complete beginners who would come across that practice. And so
right, so were you doing it like at the end of the first day, or I'm just trying to get the context?
Usually at the end of it'd be like I'd usually teach something like mindfulness of breathing first, and then after that loving kindness practice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
think
I used to notice on Goenka retreats, I mean, it's taught at the end of the course, but it's such a kind of relief at at the end
Yeah,
of the course
absolutely.
to
Yeah.
do that sort of practice. Yeah.
it's actually interesting the different contexts with in which this practice, when it actually is taught in, for example, a corporate context. For many different teachers that I know, people don't actually want to go to that space. Like
Yeah.
maybe in a retreat space, it's different. Like you're more open to it. You know that maybe something out of your comfort zone might come up, or maybe you're just generally more willing. But in a corporate environment, they don't actually like loving kindness.
They just can't
And
accept
that's
that
really
love is the
interesting.
answer.
Yeah.
Love is always the answer.
I read a funny little thing on the sort of corporate office yesterday. This guy Cory Doctorow, in the introduction to his great book, what is it called? In Real Life, he describes the corporate office as like a really boring role playing game, like a cosplay. This sort of structure where you have to limit your speech, your feelings, your dress, all in kind of line with some sort of mid 20th century ideal of what an office worker does and feels and thinks.
Yeah, but I think it's a good point that you raise about people's perception, especially corporate culture's perception on just the word love. You know, I wonder whether any mindfulness teachers have had success in maybe even renaming that practice to not include the word love. And you know, because there are just ways. I feel like maybe
Yeah.
Ched Meng had something like that where he was like, just wish two people well, or just think
Yes.
well about two people, right?
Yes.
Just 10-second
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wishing them well. Yeah.
And you don't even have to use the word love. And yeah, so maybe that's a way to kind of jump into the jump past the corporate sort of filter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also when you name it like compassion practice as well, at least it's like a more formal term where you know that you're just trying to help someone else out. It's not like loving kindness, which maybe has, I don't know, different connotations in people's minds.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, the language of these things, you know, meta doesn't mean any of the things that we have in the West exactly. As I understand it, it's kind of like, it's kind of like a universal love practice, but you know, it's all of it just sounds like hippie nonsense, especially if you're in the corporate world.
And as a last thing I might say about someone developing a practice, so there are a huge range of apps out there. And in my opinion, some are better than others.
Go on.
I would recommend for someone Insight Timer before I recommend any others. And the reason being is that there are so many great meditation teachers out there freely. And so you can really come to understand different types of formal practices, and even just your connection to a teacher, I think is really important. And just the perception of if you like their voice or not, you know, more superficial things that just can help if they have a nice voice and you like that.
Yeah.
And because they have like tens of thousands of meditations freely, there's something for everyone, from like kids to, if you are looking at more spiritual based practices, to more like secular or even corporate practices. Like the entire range is on there, and it's well reviewed and rated. So it's not as prescriptive as other apps where they have only one or two teachers, and you also have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Insight Time is great. It's also got I just love the like the little bar charts you get for tracking your practice. It can get definitely, just that gamified aspect. I find quite useful for, just whether it's maintaining the streak or like, oh yeah, I got to get another another hour this week to hit my targets or whatever. It's kind of, it's definitely useful.
It's funny, and I did play with meditation timer sort of apps that would do that for a while, but like lately I've just been like, no phones, just get the damn thing away from me.
Yeah,
I actually bought a sports timer just so I didn't have to use my phone to time things if I needed to, put a time limit on meditation.
That's nice.
Yeah,
I think going to analog is always great.
Yeah, I think what you say, Bill, about that. I feel like it might even be a little niche market where you could have a little product that was just a meditation timer, but would also kind of record your sessions.
Sorely missing.
Yeah.
Someone make a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Get this together.
Maybe we should make a Kickstarter, guys.
Maybe.
So I also had some, just like other general, like tips for getting started. But one of them that's, I don't know how people will relate to the word setting up a shrine, but it doesn't, you don't have to use that word, but just a basic space that it's kind of okay, this is like a space that you set up and it's where you meditate. And maybe it's like in the corner of your room and you just have a cushion in that corner, maybe with like a candle or something. And just having that formal kind of space can be quite helpful as a visual cue to meditate.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, like you say, just a cushion that you tend to only use for that can make a big difference, I find.
I also like the idea of post-it notes. And it's more on the micro practice where, as we were saying before, like just, the cue to remember to do it alongside a habit. So if it's when you're brushing your teeth, maybe you've got it on your bathroom mirror. The small visual cues just allow you to go, oh yeah, I remember again. And that particularly at the start can be so helpful.
Yeah, there's also there was that mindfulness in schools project called .b, and they had this. Yeah, they had this. I don't. Yeah, I never actually tried it when I was teaching mindfulness in schools. I never actually tried this part, but they had this thing where they would encourage the teenagers to text each other like a dot and then a B, and so the dot would signify pause, and the B would mean breathe. And they would just encourage the students to basically randomly text each other this sort of symbol phrase as just a random mindfulness reminder for each other. So something like that could be quite interesting. This mix of like a buddy accountability, making it a bit more social, has benefits for sure.
Interesting one, isn't it?
In reading a few different meditation books more recently, they do talk about how like having a sangha, like whether it's as formal as a sangha or not, but being...
What's a sangha, Jasmine?
How I like to think of it is people who you meditate with or within a similar community. But it's a Buddhist term, yes.
Yeah.
And when you have a community, like those who are starting something at the same time as you, that can be really encouraging. So then you can speak about, oh, this is what I experienced and like this meditation was so cool. Or like I've been really struggling and that's like challenging for me. Can anyone lend any thoughts on that? And I think I would like to extend that more. Like, I think that's something which I didn't have when I first started. And I was very private with my practice. So I could definitely see the benefits of when I have had that opportunity. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I think you might be coming from a similar space, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's generally been for me one or two friends who I'm very close with over the years, and we basically just compared notes on practice as we went, and that is just amazingly useful. I mean, these conversations have been great for me in general, and other like offline chats we've both had. I'm also in touch with my brother regularly, who also started in the Goenka tradition, and yeah, we swap notes on practice regularly. He's actually the guy who got me into Daniel Ingram and all the other stuff in the past year or so. So a big influence on me.
And how about you, Liam?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, I actually, they have there's this phrase, I think it even comes from Shinzen Young, where he says, oh no, it's a medical phrase. Anyway, so do to, something like that, right? So see one, do one, teach one. So I definitely tried to embody that in the beginning when I was first here, because I went on my first 10-day retreat, the Goenka one, and then only a few weeks later I ran like a 1-day sort of beginner's mindfulness retreat. And I think the idea for me then was, I wasn't trying to become like a teacher. I was just trying to share the practice. But in sharing the practice, it really kind of solidified my motivation for continuing the practice. And it also just made it social. It kind of, suddenly I had all these people I could now meditate with, and bring. Yeah, I think there's something about bringing meditation into a social setting so that it just becomes much more common. Like when I go and see, like when I hang out with my girlfriend, we'll usually just have a meditation together before we have like a dinner, like before we eat dinner or something like that. And it's just become this sort of, just very integrated part of our lives. And I think, I think a lot of people kind of do appreciate that if you just bring that up, like, oh, maybe let's just take a minute before we like kind of converse to kind of settle and ground and be present. Those kinds of simple things are quite helpful.
Hey, we should start doing that at the start of the podcast, Jasmine.
Actually, that is one of the like grounding practices for like my business and people who are working with me. Just having the 1 minute to settle is just a fundamental part that I just couldn't take out.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that next episode. I mean, I kind of did before this call, but like it'd be good to make it a formal part of it.
Yeah. And I think even doing it at the end also just wraps it up pretty nicely too.
That's a great idea. I wonder, Liam, could you lead us perhaps in a kind of wrapping up the session mini meditation?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
I love how we continuously put Liam on the spot and he's like, okay. It's because we don't get a lot of time with you, Liam, that's why.
I know. We want to hear more from you.
It's only out of kindness.
Before we do that, though, let's give you space to introduce anything else, any final topics or links or whatever you want to share with the audience.
Well, I think Jasmine was kind of hitting on that earlier with the insight timer, but I would emphasize to, if you are just getting started with the practice, to try and find a teacher, because there is just an enormous amount of different resources online nowadays, and people definitely come from different points of view. So if you're just kind of like jumping from like like people use the same words to sometimes mean the complete different things. And so it's just helpful to, if you just find one teacher who you resonate with, you kind of understand their language, and then you just learn how they use the language so that when they speak, you understand what it means. Yeah, because I think, it's so easy to get lost in all the different debates about different practices versus this practice. And I think just whether it's like you find someone on Insight Timer and then you look up their name, you subscribe to their blog, and you just listen to more of their recordings, or some other way to find a teacher.
I love that. Just
totally
keeping it simple to start.
Yeah, find something that you like and dig in.
Yeah.
Just make sure that they're not asking for too much of your money.
Yeah. A good indicator sometimes.
And on that note, what would you say about, like, it's such a common path in so many people I talk to who've got deep into meditation have said, oh yeah, it was via a Goenka Vipassana retreat. What would be your advice about approaching that particular tradition?
I mean, if people like the sound of 10 Days of Silence, or they just want to try it, I would highly recommend at least having the experience of it. I don't think everyone is going to resonate with the style or the approach, but but I think they feel like experiences that are just useful to have. But even not in that tradition, just going away on retreat is very useful. There are many sort of options that people can explore, and they range from like more secular retreats to like the mindfulness MBSR kind of courses that you can do, to the more like fully Buddhist retreats in the different traditions, or I even think there are like Christian contemplative retreats that you can probably find.
Yes.
So there's a whole range really, but some retreat practice definitely is very different from just everyday practice. There's definitely a quality that's very unique.
Anything you'd add to that, Jasmine?
Only that retreats make that's often what you're there for, and it makes the time that you have quite special. And it's not even to say you have to go to formal meditation retreats too. There are many others which kind of are like holiday experiences, and they have dedicated sessions where people will guide you through different things, whether it's like movement-based practices, or even just like painting, like art meditation and stuff like that. So just be open to exploring what there is available, and just get curious and excited by it. There's so many possibilities now.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a final sort of question on that would be, just the other day I was chatting to someone who was thinking about going on her first Goenka Vipassana retreat. What would you say to her?
I can go first. I might say, just if you do want to complete the entire schedule as it is, just be prepared that it will be very challenging. Maybe build up to it in terms of seeing if you can meditate up to an hour, going from even just 1 hour of preparation daily to 10 hours, which is the full schedule, is significantly much harder. And I would say be easy on yourself, but just try to make the most out of it, because that's what I guess you're there for. It's very challenging though, I would say. So just mentally prepare.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would just say probably not to get too caught up with the way they might approach how they teach the practice, and to just to kind of just be to just make the most of the space, and I guess kind of stay in a state of gratitude rather than critiquing, because
Yes.
the critiquing mind can be, it can be valid, it can definitely be valid, but I don't think it's necessarily helpful for just for what you can stand to learn from being in a space like that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Being open-minded is key.
Yeah, I would say that. And if you're going to do it, know that it will be really, really, my experience is if it were, it's very hardcore approach. Take it with a pinch of salt, and go easy on yourself would be my thoughts on that, because it's very easy to kind of get hypercritical. It's all presented in a bit of a kind of life and death, saving the world, master yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I mean, it is like they take it seriously, and I think when you go into it knowing like the attitude that they have around it will be helpful for you to be like, okay, well, this is exactly what I've signed up to, and trying to be there and to appreciate that opportunity that someone else has given you as best as you possibly can.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, there's so many ways into meditation. You don't have to go on a Goenka retreat. Final thought. Lots of more gentle retreats out there as well. So explore your options. I guess I would say.
Yeah, and actually, if you're in London or you're kind of UK based, I have occasionally like run just like really informal retreats, like at someone's like a little holiday cottage or something like that, or someone has a spare sort of house and they want to use it for the weekend or for a whole week. So yeah, get in touch. Sometimes I'm organizing this. It's quite sporadic at the moment, but for something more informal.
Yes, and during lockdown, I'm unsure when the next one might be.
Yeah. Well, I would definitely be up for joining in one of those as well, as and when we get out of this pandemic.
Yes.
Great.
So Liam, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, these are normally just, like a minute long, so probably not that much talking on my side, but yeah, it could be nice to just, take a minute, and I guess, it would be nice maybe to just sit in gratitude for, for the both of you and for the space, and I guess also for the practice, and I guess just kind of generally holding the thought of having whatever's been shared here to be of some benefit to others who may come across it. So yeah, we can just take a minute in silence and maybe hold that intention.
But Liam, I'm so uncomfortable in this chair.
Sorry, say that again. You can definitely get comfortable.
I'm so. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill, for. But yeah, just generally, sitting comfortably. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever's more comfortable. And then we'll just take a minute.
What do I do, Liam?
do you actually want me to guide a whole meditation? Because, I guess.
Yeah, come on. This is for getting started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for this one, you just you can think of, we can do like a sort of a semi-loving kindness practice, if you just
Right.
bring up the faces of two people that you care about, and just send them warm wishes, just wishing them well, wishing them happiness, essentially, just for a few seconds. And then, if the image falls away, then you can just bring it back up again. Yeah, so you might just be thinking these happy thoughts towards them, or you might actually just be feeling something from the heart space and sending that feeling towards these two people. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Liam.
Was that good enough, Bill?
That was awesome.
Okay, well, thank you for everyone today for listening, and for you guys for being on. Thank you, Liam, for joining us. And we hope to have you on another session very soon.
Liam, where can people find you on the internet?
I have a seldomly updated blog, liamchai.com. Yeah, I guess we can add that on the show links at the bottom.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it would be cool. We can have another sort of themed show, I guess. It's quite nice to have a theme and a question to answer.
Yeah, awesome. Wonderful. Jasmine, any final thoughts?
Oh, I thought we would already have cut by now.
Done it already.
Yeah, I thought that silence was for cutting. Anyway,
probably was.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I liked it. And I think an hour, or was it hour 50? Basically, like an hour was.
It's good.
Is a good length of time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The only thing I would say is a tiny thing is lots of ums going around.
Oh yeah.
Lots of ums.
We're all about the ums.
Yeah.
I can edit out some ums.
Yeah.
It's a meditation practice of its own.
I think it is, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
learning not to say
That's a nice one too.
Yeah.
What did you say, Liam?
Oh, I just said that's a nice one to practice.
Yeah. That's
mindfulness.
Definitely.
Some really nice ideas. I really liked our that Kickstarter idea that came up.
Oh, it would be cool. It's such a big project though. Oh my god.
What, to make a little timer?
Yeah. I know people who've done Kickstarter. I mean, making the product would be hard, but even just running the Kickstarter it's such an intense, huge thing to do.
Oh right.
But yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah, it's a good idea though, I think, right?
I think that's a really great idea,
You just
actually.
have like something that looks really like that has the same feeling of like one of those Tibetan bowls, singing bowls. It's got that sort of classic I don't know what the word is, kind of ancient nostalgic look to it.
Yeah.
And then it has but it's kind of small and it's portable, and you can just it still has a way to log like your meditation sessions, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to
How that works.
how do you
I can ask some techies on it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm into the idea. I mean, it's a product I want.
I mean, no, for sure, me too. I would definitely use that, actually, because I've had the same. Because I don't know about the two of you, but sometimes my insight timer can take like a really long time to load up, and just that few seconds can, and I'm just waiting on my phone, right? And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just quickly look at my messages. Just that 10 seconds can be a real sort of devastating moment. So
they're killers, man. They're killers.
It's a deterrent for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I'm going to get on with my working day. It's been such a pleasure, really. Thank you so much, both.
Yeah, thank you both.
Yes.
Let's catch up soon. Yeah.
Let's do this again. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Waving.
Bye, guys. Have a nice
See you
day.
soon. You too.